You're not going.
The first part is simplifying square roots. So let's try like square root of 20. So 20 does not have a nice square root, right? It's not 10 because 10 times 10 is 100. Square root of 100 is 10. Remember, square root means what times itself equals this. So a lot of you have calculators that can do this part. However, your calculators cannot do cube roots. So we need, or fourth roots or fifth roots. So we kind of need to learn how to do this without a calculator so we can do more complicated ones that your calculator can't do. Okay, so what you do is the factor tree. What goes into 20?
4 and 5.
4 and 5, 10 and 2, doesn't really matter what you use. And then 5 is a prime, so this branch stops. What goes into 4? 2 and 2. So what you do, I always like circle the doubles. Because 2 times 2 is 4. 4 actually has a square root, which is 2, right? So basically the doubles turn into a normal number, 2, and then the leftover stays in the square root. Because this part actually has a square root and this part doesn't. You guys got it?
Yes.
I got it.
Let's try one more and then we'll jump in. 17. Now, again, I'll repeat myself one more time. If your calculator can do this, that's fine. However, later on, we're going to do problems your calculator cannot do. So if you don't know how to do the tree thing, you're going to be lost. You're going to be lost. Okay, 8 and 9.
2 and 4.
30, 30.
2 and 2.
Okay, so I've got 2 sets of doubles on this one
Yeah.
and 1 left over.
6 square root of 2.
Right, so what comes out is 2 and 3, 2 times 3, which is 6, and then the leftover is a 2. So if there was another leftover, like say a 7 or something, then 2 times 7, 14 would be in here. Okay, if there's more than one leftover, you just multiply them together. Does that make sense?
Yes.
3 times 2 comes out, 2 is left behind. All right, and if you plug this, if you got a nice calculator and plug that in, then it'll do it automatically. Okay, now we're starting. Number 1. I'm going to do all these by hand. By the way, this is not all we're doing today. This is just the first part.
I'm about to be really happy.
Yeah, you wish. There's like 3 more things. There's like 3 things we still have to talk about. Okay, 54. What goes into 54? 9 times 6. Okay. So I have a double 3 and a leftover 3 and 2. You guys know what it's going to be? 3 comes out and 6 is left behind. All those things are all these things multiply if we do this times this times this times this to 54. So all this stuff is multiplied together. All this stuff is multiplied together. Number 3. Okay, this is something new, and again, this is a lot of calculators can do this. Okay, this is not simplified because you cannot leave a square root on the bottom. Again, the calculator can do this, but there's harder versions that a calculator can't do, so pay attention. To get rid of a square root, do you guys know how to get rid of a square root? Okay, I'm going to multiply it by itself, but if you do that to the bottom of a fraction, you have to do the same thing to the top to keep the fraction equal to the same value. Okay, so what is the top going to become? 1 times square root of 6 is square root of 6. The bottom, what's square root of 6 times square root of 6? Okay, it's square root of 36, which is what? 6. Anytime you take a square root times itself, the square root cancels out, basically. Square root of 6 times square root of 6 is 6. Square root of 1,000 times square root of 1,000 is 1,000. Square root of 42 times square root of 42 is 42. So it just gets rid of it. What do you think? Does this reduce right here? No, it does not. Square root of 6, whatever it is not reduced to normal 6. Okay, if it was like square root of 6 and square root of 2, yes, that reduces. You can divide those. Be square root of 3. But if it's a square root and a not square root,
What if the entire thing is the entire thing squared?
Huh?
Like the square root of everything.
okay, if it's like square root of 5, 6, that's the same thing as square root of 5 and square root over square root of 6. And you can't leave the square root on the bottom, so you'd still have to do that same trick. That's probably what's about to come up, I'd imagine. Where are we?
So then how would you multiply the two square roots together?
Well, a square root times a square root. So this would be square root of 5 times square root of 6 is guess what?
Square root of 30.
Square root of 30. You need to make sure that doesn't simplify. Okay, there's no doubles, so it doesn't simplify. Square root of 30 does not simplify. And then the bottom would just be a 6. Okay, back to number 5. Okay, this part is actually really important. Said square root of negative 4, right? Yes. All right, what times itself equals negative 4?
Nothing.
Nothing is correct. Good. Why doesn't anything work? What's 2 times 2?
4.
What's negative 2 times negative 2?
4.
Okay, there's nothing times itself equals negative 4. This is what they call an imaginary number.
What?
Apparently it has like applications in like electrical engineering or
Like
something.
11.
Okay, so what you do is they said if there's a negative inside the square root, you can take it out and call it an I. Okay, so if there's a negative in the square root, it's imaginary. That doesn't make sense because nothing times itself equals a negative. A positive times a positive, positive. Negative times negative, positive. So this turns into I square root of 4. Okay, I just means there's an imaginary component to this. But can we simplify square root of 4 still?
Yes.
Yes, what's square root of 4?
2.
Okay, you kind of treat it like a variable. So I wouldn't put I2, I would put 2I. Now, does anybody want to guess why I didn't write square root of 4 and then the I?
Because it looks like the I might be.
Right, it looks like the I might be under the square root, so it's a little bit confusing. Your calculator might put it on that side, but really it should be written like this and then like that. Okay, does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
Basically, the summation is if there's a negative in the square root, you take it out and turn it into an I, and then do the square root stuff normally. If your calculator cannot do imaginary numbers, it could still do the square root part, maybe. So you might just do the I by yourself. Some calculators can do imaginary numbers.
Sure.
Yes.
So why is it 2I instead of I square root of 2?
What's the square root of 4? What times itself equals 4? 2.
Oh, so
Okay, you don't keep square rooting it, all right? Square root of 100 is 10, not square root of 10.
Okay, so if it has an answer, then you just put the answer.
Yeah, this simplifies completely to 2.
So if it doesn't simplify, then it would be I.
Well, okay, so for example, if it was square root of negative 20, remember we did this at the beginning where it was like 2 square root of 5? So it would be 2I square root of 5. Okay, let me do that one over again. At the beginning we did square root of 20. You guys remember doing that?
Yes.
Okay, if it's negative square root of 20, you take the negative out as an I, and then you do the 20 thing. So square root of 20 turns into 2 square root of 5. But where does the I go? Well, they decided to put it right there for the same reasons we talked about. They don't want to put it here because it looks like it's under the square root. They don't put it there because that's weird. Used to putting it after the number. So anyway, the I goes right in the middle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go. Number 7. So on number 6, you take the I out. Does square root of 2 simplify? No, so all it is I squared of 2. There's nothing else you can do on it. Number 7, yeah, it's an easy one though. Okay, what do you guys think? What should I do first on 7?
Take the
Take the I out. Can I do anything with square root of 25?
yes.
That's 5, right? So what would the final answer be, you guys think?
-5.
Negative 5i. On my calculators, the white ones can do imaginary. The black ones can do square roots. So the white ones are a little bit better. That would be one of my white ones. Even though the case is white, I guess you could say. All right, number 9.
You already did that.
Oh, I accidentally did number 9. Okay, you guys got lucky. So the I comes out, and then square root of 20. You guys remember what it was? It's still right there, isn't it? Okay. I guess I'm not gonna do it again. Square root of 20. That was our first example. Is 2 square root of 5. So the answer is 2i square root of 5.
What a funky little monkey.
Imaginary numbers. They do not exist in reality. Number 11, square root of negative 48 over 5. Okay, this has a lot of things going on with it. What's one thing we need to fix with it?
I.
Take the I out.
Okay.
Okay, Archer asked me earlier, what do you do in the whole fraction? Basically, it means the top and the bottom are in the square root. Okay, these are the same. Square root of 48 fifths, same thing as square root of 48 over square root of 5. There's 2 more things we need to do to fix it. Does anybody know what one other thing is? Okay, you can't lose square root of 5 on the bottom, and square root of 48 probably simplifies. So we need to fix both of those. Might be, okay, yeah, let's do, you could do either, I guess. Multiply by square root of 5. Square root of 48 times square root of 5 is square root of 240. What's the square root of 5 times square root of 5? 5. The book would put or not the book, your calculator will probably put the I like right there. Where does the book put it? Actually, I'm not sure. Yeah, they did. The book did too. Like outside the fraction. The square root of 240, that's definitely got stuff going into it. What goes into 240? If it ends in a 0? 24 times 10. Okay, so I see 2 double 2's and a leftover 3 and 5. So what comes out is 2 times 2, 4. And what's left behind is 3 times 5. Okay, you guys know how to do the tree, right? That's what I went fast through that. Did you understand how I went from the tree to here?
Yeah.
Yes, but you write them.
Well, writing, you guys don't need to watch me write. Does square root of 15 and 5 reduce, you think? Do these two reduce? No. Square roots and normal numbers, they don't really mix with multiply and divide. So this would be as good as we can get. 13, x squared equals 169. Okay, this is different. We're solving an equation right now. Hey, let me back up let's do a really basic one. X squared equals 9. Okay, you guys know if x squared equals 9, what could x be in this case? Could be 3, right? 3 squared is equal to 9. Anything else?
No.
Negative 3 would also work, right? Negative 3 times negative 3 is also 9. Okay, so the answer is actually positive or negative 3. So here's how you do it algebraically. What's the opposite of squaring? What's the opposite of squaring? No?
Square
Square root. Which is kind of related to division, but it's a little bit different. So when you use that square root trick though, you get x equals 3. You need to remember anytime you use the square root trick, it's actually plus or minus, positive or negative that. Because the negative squared would also equal that thing. So it's something you have to get in your brains. I'll try and remind you a bunch of times before we get to the test. Hopefully it'll be in your brain by then. By the end of today, you'll probably get it, but then tomorrow or Monday you might forget it, so we'll have to go over it again. Anyway, so on this one, what should I do again? The opposite of squaring? Square root. I don't suppose you guys know what square root of 169 is. That's not in our times tables.
Of course.
It is 13, but you gotta put positive or negative 13. It's a short question though, right? Short and sweet. Yes. All right, on 15, what do we do to get z by itself? How do we get rid of the square?
Square root.
Square root it. What's different about this one though? What did they change? Okay. There's a negative. But so basically we got to simplify square root of negative 27. What should we do?
I.
Yeah, the I comes out. So notice I already put the plus and minus in so we don't forget it. Does 27 simplify? The square root simplify?
3.
So yeah, there's doubles in it.
Square root.
So it's 3 squared of 3. So I probably shouldn't have written that I in there yet. So it's 3I squared of 3. I know that soundtrack.
Come on, Mr. Jordan, what is
Is
it?
it Dances with Wolves?
Probably.
Is your
Maybe.
recording picking up on it?
I didn't see
I
that.
doubt
You
it
might
can.
get copyrighted.
I don't think you can hear it now.
Well, it's only if you.
It's only if people watch it.
It's loud or something. It's like in the background, no, they're like.
Yeah, if I can barely hear it, the computer's not going to pick it up now. 17. All right. You guys know what we should do first on this one? Any guesses?
4 over
Yeah, we can get a squared by itself if we subtract 4. So we get a squared equals negative 4. Then what do we do? How do you get rid of the square?
Square root.
Square root.
Yes.
When you use the square root trick, your answer should be plus or minus, whatever. Okay, we did square root of negative 4 earlier. Do you guys remember what it turned into? Square root of 4 is 2, so it's 2i. That was like number, what number was that? Oh, never mind, that was the example I made up.
No.
Oh, it's number 5, number 5. $19. Okay, These are the same things, it's just bigger. So we got to do more work to get x by itself. But you guys are pros at these, right? How do I get x squared by itself? Minus 24. Okay, if x squared equals 16, plus or minus 4, yeah. Don't forget, plus minus. Negative 4 would also work, right? Plus or minus 4. Yeah, if you forget the plus or minus, I have to take a half off. So you did like 95% of the work right, and then you screw up the last part. All right, 21. Negative 4y squared equals 20. These are short and sweet. They're all short and sweet. Okay, how do I solve for y squared? Dylan, what should I do first on this one?
Subtract.
Nope.
Oh, add 4.
Nope. Negative 4 times y squared, right? So how do I get rid of times? Divide. Emily, what's coming next?
Square root. Can't catch me off guard like that. Scared.
You know what the answer is?
Square root and negative 5. Oh, plus or minus square root of 5. Is it supposed to be
Something's still wrong.
negative?
What do you do when there's a negative in this?
I plus or minus I.
There you go. Now we got it all. Have you guys seen dances with wolves?
I have. It's been a while though.
I liked it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I've heard it's kind of
It probably-
inaccurate though.
Yeah, probably. It came out.
It's when we went to Forksville, the guy who dressed up as a buffalo soldier. He sort of went on a little tangent about all the
Everything.
mistakes they made.
Everything.
You just went on a tangent.
We talked about
Yeah, it was
everything.
fun,
We were
though.
there for
It was.
like 3 hours listening to him talk.
Good times.
He had a lot to say about Forest Hill.
So we had a lot to say about everything. Like,
Well, I found it fun.
Yeah.
Okay, this one has x squareds on both sides. What do we normally do when we have x's on both sides of the equation?
You subtract.
Subtract to get one of those terms off of that side. So I can get rid of the 4x squared on this side if I subtract 4x squared.
Can you scroll a little bit more?
So minus 4x squared. What's 7x squared minus 4x squared?
Yes.
Whose phone's
I don't think we have enough phones on the wall. I guess Kira's not here. Are you guys doing the evens? Is that why you're not keeping up?
no, you're just going extra yards away and it's not it. I think so. I can never keep up, but today I can.
Well, some of these steps I kind of expect you to know on your own, like how to add 22 to both sides, that kind of thing. So you shouldn't have to copy every little thing that I'm writing on the board. Like, how do you divide by 3 on both sides, for example? Okay, this last part is the only new part. So what do we do now? square root. So what's the answer gonna be? Plus or minus square root of 10.
We need to do 2 square root
10 is 2 times 5, so there are no doubles. It does not simplify.
Shoot, I was thinking that. I'm done. Sorry.
Are you done?
Yes.
That wasn't that. You weren't that far behind. 25.
Oh, no, 25.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to throw one of these in just to make sure we know how to do it. Anybody want to guess what I'm going to do first?
Distribute the.
No.
Oil.
Okay, you could FOIL, but that's going to take a lot of extra work we don't need to do.
Way.
Since the whole right side is squared, we can get rid of the square right now. Since the whole, I said right, but since the whole left side is squared, we can get rid of the square right now. So you can square root right off the bat. Well, what do you guys think the left side is going to become? Y minus 8.
I have to say,
Okay,
you treat it.
what's the right side going to become? Okay, since we already used the square root trick, we should already have the plus or minus right now. Plus or minus square root of 24. Does square root of 24 simplify?
Yeah, 1, 6, 2, 6.
Yeah, it's basically 2 squared of 6. This 6 doesn't have any doubles in it. So y minus 8 equals plus or minus 2 squared of 6. Well, have I solved it for y yet? No.
Add 8.
Add 8.
Okay. Does 8 add? Does simplify with 2 squared of 6? No. So what I'm going to put is 8 plus or minus 2 squared of 6. You could add it together if you were settled for a decimal, but we're not going to do that. How many answers do we have here? No,
1,
2.
2.
2 answers. 8 plus 2 squared of 6, that's one answer. 8 minus 2 squared of 6, that's the second answer. All these questions that we've done have had 2 answers. Alright, you guys still got 11 or 12?
What about 26?
26, you still just square root it.
Well,
And there's a 2 in front of us, so do you.
On 26, you probably want to divide by 2 first before you do the square root trick.
so half r plus.
You mean multiply?
You probably want to divide both sides by 2 first.
So half r plus.
No. When you divide the left side by 2, the 2 times 2 just goes away. Jasmine's still working on this one.
Never would.
Still confused.
Okay, yeah, 26 can be simplified more because we can actually do 6 plus 3.
Is it a whole number?
It's 2 whole numbers. Okay, since there's no number on the front here, you're really just saying what multiplies into negative 42. That adds up to negative 1. 2 and 21, those don't add. Nope. Try it. Just divide, see if it works.
Okay, why did you do this? Why did you want to do that?
Is he doing?
There's a
trying to
certain
set up?
video about typos, but now I make it equal. Almost just like every single. No.
What X values would make this zero?
Every single.
Right.
I
This minus zero.
love this little.
So put x equals 7, or what x value make this one zero? Negative 6. So you just do the opposite. That's the, those are the two. So on this one is what multiplies is negative 2. That adds up to 1. 2 times what? 2 times negative 4. So it's b plus 2, b minus 1. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you find the decimal? Where is it? What? I don't have.
Oh, you don't want the decimal, you want that one.
So I just put that.
Yeah, that was 3 that I was on.
You basically plug in.
So
You can't plug in a.
Yeah, so, the work of this, you just need to do the exact same thing except for decimal.
Well, I just, scissor calculators. The square, so if you divide by negative, the whole thing is negative. So you're gonna have to take an eye out. Calculator might be able to handle it better if you just.
Yeah, so,
So basically the bottom is just gonna become a 2. And the top is gonna be square root of 2 over 2.
okay, that's what you're on.
You get it? You do the opposite, so this needs. Yeah.
I don't think I did this right.
That's the only one like that. Yeah, that's fine. Your calculator can do it all.
Because I did it like 7, but 7 is not like that.
Yeah. Girls
You think it'll be able to
good.
fit number 4 right there?
Yeah, you make sure. It's just multiply the top of the square root of 2.
So no matter what happens in here, it's always gonna be negative because I'll do the separate. Yeah, it's negative.
This is like square root of 5 over square root of 2. You have to multiply the top of it.
So this is right for that.
And the calculator can do it, but later on it can't. So that's why I just teach you.
So that,
There's an I line.
there's any running cases fractions.
Yeah,
You like
it,
this?
it does imaginary, but not. Doesn't imaginary. So, yeah. Those. Well, the negative comes out as an I, and you just do square root of 35. You could do the tree with it, or calculate just like.
So I'm gonna do 135, square root, 135.
Well, you can do the negative yourself.
So
So
it's
it's
3.
negative 3 I square root of 15. Read that one.
Yeah, I think it's the coolest thing.
It would be 5y plus 4. And, okay, and that's just 4. Okay, then put y equals, and then just, that's not food, is that on farmer's candle? Probably. What, sounds like sadness? if there's a letter on the outside, 0 is one of the answers. And then, like, if it said that, it would be -4.